afternoon, everyone. My name is Alexei. I lead the AI efforts at Selligent. And you and I, we're used to interacting with AIs, actually. Every day you interact with different types of things like vocal assistants, automated customer support, you interact with social apps. All of these actually use what we call a narrow AI. It's an AI that's built for a specific task. And most of these applications are based on machine learning. For me, the way I usually talk about machine learning is pretty simple. It's basically a lot of data and applied statistics on this data to make predictions. And so I just wanted to start by giving you a couple of examples and demystifying a bit how those narrow AIs work. If you take facial recognition, it looks complex. There's different lighting conditions, different types of people. How do you train a system to do that? But actually, it's pretty simple. You train a neural network in order to execute a certain function, which is recognizing an individual and making sure that his phone unlocks when the input data gets through this neural network. This is what we do with convolutional neural networks normally. Another example of this is autonomous cars. It looks even more complex. There's more data from different types of sensors. You have LiDARs, radars, cameras. And what does the AI system do in that case? Well, it's supposed to steer, brake, accelerate, depending on the situation. And all it boils down to is basically, again, a lot of data from the car, videos that are divided into frames, that are fed into a convolutional neural network that do some segmentation. Is it a tree? Is it a car? Which way does the road go? So pretty simple. If we take a even more complex example. Let's take robotic locomotion. This is Wildcat. For those who don't know, it's a very amazing robot. It can go really fast. And obviously, the way you train a robot to walk and run is not by programming each one of his limbs independently. You just run it through an algorithm that is called a reinforcement learning algorithm, and you give some reward to the robot when it manages to move properly. And of course, you need to deal with situations like a human kicking you on the side and things like that. So all of that is learned by a system that is trained to achieve a certain goal. So why am I talking about this at this conference? My point is it's exactly the same thing with marketing. In marketing, we're very good at collecting a lot of data from different sources, gathering it into a data platform, and then doing things on top of this data. And most of the things that we do is to achieve a specific goal, which is to engage with every individual visitor, every individual consumer that we want to talk to as a brand. And of course, to do that for a large segment, take a large demographic segment, programming a journey, programming an ad for this segment is pretty easy. But if you really want to do that on a per consumer level, it gets more complicated. This is when you need a purpose-built AI that analyzes all the data that you have inside your platform and that makes predictions on this data. And this is why we need a narrow AI to deal with these tasks. So what are we trying to do? What is the exact goal? Well, we're trying to be more relevant. We try to be more personal. And of course, we try to offer to each individual consumer an experience that is the same throughout the channels. It doesn't matter if a customer receives a push notification or an email. It has to be consistent throughout the channels. My job at Selligent is really to work on three different things. This is how we segmented our narrow AI. We work on audiences, so we try to build audiences automatically based on consumer behavior data. We try to find lookalike models automatically using machine learning that we train to do so. We work on journeys, so trying to optimize send time and channel, for example. What is the best time to communicate with a specific individual? Again, I'm not talking about a segment, but I'm talking about a very specific individual. And the last one is how do you build an offer that makes sense for this specific individual at this specific moment? And that one is very interesting. I know that some people from Facebook are going to join us for the next session, but Facebook did something truly amazing. It's one service, but it's 2.2 billion different versions of it for every individual visitor. This is quite amazing to do that as a service. Well, what we're doing is we're trying to help people who are not Facebook achieve the same thing. How do you configure the experience for every individual consumer so that it's relevant and personal to this individual? And of course, we do that by collecting a lot of data through our channels. We store them in one place. And talking back about my Wildcat robot, what we actually do is pretty simple. We input a lot of data inside a system, and the system is trained to adapt the experience for this individual. So we take data such as profile, context, the channel, the time of the day for which we want to build this offer. And we predict the next best step for every individual visitor. Something similar might happen with Facebook's newsfeed, for example, that is adapted to you. We, at Selligent, we use a specific algorithm called collaborative filtering. And just to give you a sense of how these things work, basically it's about filling a huge matrix. You have products on one side, or articles if you're a publisher. You have users on the other side. And what you're trying to do is fill the gaps in this matrix. You know that Bob liked a movie like The Matrix, for example. What is the likelihood that Bob is going to like Saving Private Ryan, for example? And you try to work on this whole set of data and make those predictions for every individual visitor. Of course, sometimes it doesn't work. You really have to be careful on the way you train your artificial intelligence. Because if you optimize the wrong goal, for example, you try to sell as many products as possible. What is the best recommendation you can give to anyone? White socks. Everyone needs white socks. So you just put them all over the site. You'll see your metrics increasing dramatically because everyone needs them, so showing recommendations of white socks makes sense. But the experience that the user will face is extremely poor. It's as if on YouTube you had recommendations about very popular things like Gangnam Style or Justin Bieber all the time. It's not personal. It works for clicks, but it doesn't offer the user a very specific experience that he's looking for. So I talked about this AI, this piece that can automatically segment, automatically send communications to individual consumers, find the right products to display at a specific moment. Of course, what we're trying to do is to split the role of the marketer and what the AI is supposed to do. The AI is really about tuning the experience and making sure that all the difficulty, all the complexity of the execution is managed by an automated system, while the marketer manages the overall strategy and the business that is being built using this AI. So that's my point. What I wanted to present to you is the AI, how it works, and how it can help in marketing. Thank you very much.